Now, from WYDC TV, this is Big Fox News at 10.
We begin tonight in Elmira. The federal government is looking to help homeless Americans by providing money to state and local governments. As Matt Kleindens tells us, Elmira will receive a portion of the money going to New York.
That's right, Scott. Elmira is set to receive over $1 million in emergency homeless assistance through the American Rescue Plan. That money will be used to address current and future issues regarding housing insecurity.
When you look at how many people we serve now to how many people we were serving a year ago, the number has almost exactly doubled.
The Salvation Army of Elmira has seen an increase in the amount of clients they serve. Bianca Palesi says about 150 of them are struggling with homelessness and are regulars at the food pantry.
We have items outside that are items that you don't necessarily have to cook that people could come and get every single day, and that's where we mostly see people that are unhoused coming every single day to get those items.
With the passing of the American Rescue Plan, Elmira will be receiving $1.18 million to provide assistance to the homeless population.
This is going to be a big help for us.
While the city doesn't have many homeless people, Mayor Dan Mandel says evictions wrought by the pandemic could pose a future challenge.
We've got a couple shelters right now. Maybe we'll have to open up more shelters for temporary housing and then work on some of that funding for permanent housing for these people.
Going forward, the city will be working with local organizations to develop a plan for how to address the current and future problems faced by the city's homeless.
We have to be ready for it, and we'll have to use those funds wisely because, you talk about $1.1 million and, $1 million from the state. That can be spent very quickly.
Matt Kleindens, Big Fox, WYDC in Corning.
Anyone who wants a vaccine can now get one, according to Guthrie. The hospital's mass vaccination site in Sayre is now accepting walk-in appointments. Since the announcement, Guthrie says they've seen more than 100 walk-ins per day. Dr. Michael Scalzone says they're trying to make vaccinations more convenient for residents in the area.
Sometimes convenience is geographic, making sure that we can get to those more isolated places. And sometimes it's just schedules. Perhaps someone doesn't know if they're going to have time to do it. And that being able to walk in is one method to try to extend the opportunities for people to get the vaccine.
Appointments will be available Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 at the Sayre site. You can also schedule appointments through Guthrie's online portal. There's a new warning label for Johnson & Johnson's COVID-19 vaccine. They're now using it again in Europe, though it's still on hold here in the U.S., while regulators investigate a series of mysterious blood clots. David Lee Miller has more.
Johnson & Johnson resuming its COVID vaccine rollout in Europe, a day after European regulators announced a possible link between the vaccine and potentially fatal blood clots. But they also found the clots were extremely rare, occurring in only 8 patients, and allowed countries to continue using the vaccine, which will now carry a special label warning doctors of the risk.
In the vast majority of cases, these vaccines are going to prevent death and hospitalization from COVID-19. So we always have to balance the benefits of a vaccine with the potential risks.
Here in the U.S., the vaccine remains on hold, with the CDC Advisory Committee scheduled to meet on Friday to review the data and vote on whether to lift the pause. But with all adults in the U.S. now eligible, doctors say the Johnson vaccine could be crucial to expanding access, especially in more remote areas with limited access to health care.
We need to get these vaccines into doctors' offices. And you can't always get the Pfizer into a doctor's office, obviously, because it has to be kept so super cold.
More than 133 million Americans have now gotten at least one shot, but case numbers keep climbing. The daily average is close to 65,000. And health officials say the average age of people testing positive is skewing younger.
Even though a large population has been immunized, all those people who still haven't, those people are now still at risk.
According to the White House, 90% of Americans now live within 5 miles of a vaccination site. In New York, David Lee Miller, Fox News.
It was a day that many have been waiting for. The verdict in the Derek Chauvin trial. The former Minneapolis police officer convicted on all 3 charges. Many across the country took to the streets to celebrate the conviction. Daryl Forges has the latest from Minneapolis.
Unintentional second-degree murder, third-degree murder, second-degree manslaughter.
The verdict heard around the world.
Guilty, guilty, guilty.
Derek Chauvin looking on, hearing the word guilty on all 3 charges, then taken away in handcuffs to a Minnesota correctional facility to await sentencing.
Bail is revoked, bond is discharged, and the defendant is remanded to the custody.
Chauvin could face up to 40 years in prison for second-degree unintentional murder, up to 25 years for third-degree murder, and up to 10 years for second-degree manslaughter.
8 weeks from now, we will have sentencing.
But for activists, Chauvin's conviction for the murder of George Floyd is just one step towards racial justice.
Just because we got one victory is not enough. We need to stay woke.
Floyd's family calling on Washington to act.
We have to pass the George Floyd Policing Act. We have to stick together and continue to fight.
In a call with the family Tuesday, President Joe Biden promising to deliver.
We're going to get a lot more done. We're going to do a lot.
The family says they are pleased Chauvin is being held accountable, but there is still more work to be done to achieve equality.
We're going to continue this journey, and we must not let his death be his last word.
In Minneapolis, I'm Daryl Forges.
New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio says the country should use the guilty verdict in the George Floyd murder trial as a chance to make real police reforms. The mayor is advocating for all police officers all across the country to be retrained to use less violent force.
It's a new day in many, many senses. We saw some justice last night. We saw something that represents a beginning and a change. And I think it's fair to say all over the country there was a sense of relief that justice was finally done. But it's not enough.
In recent months, more than 30 states have passed new police reform and oversight laws. At least one person has been killed and another injured after a shooting at a Pennsylvania Wawa. The shooting happened just before 5 a.m. in Upper Macungie Township. According to police, the shooter fled from the scene and then took his own life. That suspect opened fire on a car outside the store before going inside, where the shooting continued. The person killed was a truck driver who was pumping gas. Another person was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries.
The driver of the white Corolla pulled in here and went around to the other side of the Wawa, which would be generally the southerly side of it. There was a Jeep vehicle there which was occupied by its driver. He was shot. He's receiving treatment now. It does not appear that his injuries are life-threatening, but he was shot and injured. After that, the driver of the white Corolla fired upon the truck driver of that tractor who was pumping gas. He has been killed, unfortunately.
Investigators have not released a motive. A federal judge in Los Angeles orders the city to offer housing to all homeless people living in the city's infamous Skid Row. Ed Lascos has more.
LA's Skid Row could be cleaned up with the entire homeless population here offered housing by October. That's the ruling of a federal judge.
This judge met the moment with a remarkable order that is more than bold. It demands the immediate effort to house and offer housing to every person in Skid Row.
The judge ordering the city and the county to find housing for single women and unaccompanied children in 90 days. And every homeless person must be given an opportunity to come off the streets of Skid Row by mid-October.
I love the thought of no longer having precious human beings suffering and dying on the streets of Skid Row. And I would hope that our whole city and county would feel the same way.
The federal judge in his 110-page order writes, quote, all the rhetoric, promises, plans, and budgeting cannot obscure the shameful reality of this crisis, stop quote.
That's my biggest concern. We have a city and a county that likely will, instead of complying and moving ahead, will try to fight this battle in court.
The judge's ruling comes a day after LA Mayor Eric Garcetti vowed to spend nearly $1 billion on his homeless plan for housing, intervention, and other services. But the judge now, in a sense, commandeering that $1 billion instead, wanting that money put into escrow with a spending plan approved by the court, not the mayor. That brings this reaction from City Hall.
A court that decides to get in the way, I would say stay out of our way. I would say roadblocks masquerading as progress are the last things we need.
And when the mayor stands up after reading this order and tells the judge to literally stay out of it, my view is that the mayor ought to sit this one out because he's had since 2013 when he was first elected to make progress on this issue.
At issue now, how to best spend that $1 billion for the homeless, but there is one number that's even more important than that.
5 people dying today on the streets of LA, 5 people dying tomorrow, every day.
School meal programs will resume for students this fall as schools reopen safely amid the pandemic. The Department of Agriculture is extending its free school lunch program through 2022. It will continue flexible service to promote social distancing. Schools can also continue providing breakfast and after-school snacks in non-group settings. The USDA says this ensures children are getting nutritious options like fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and milk. According to the department, up to 12 million children may not be getting enough to eat at home during the pandemic. Still ahead tonight, a Michigan father wants answers after a teacher cut his daughter's hair without his consent.
They should have been like, yeah, we messed up. We should probably call him and let him know what just happened, you know?
What officials with the school say happened to lead up to that incident.
Here's your local stock market update from Big Fox. Now, your Twin Tiers forecast from Big Fox.
Tonight's Big Fox forecast is brought to you by William Mattar. Good evening, everyone. I'm meteorologist Kim Walker with your weather update. It's been a breezy and cold day with snow showers across much of our hometowns. Temperatures tonight will be below freezing, down to the 20s, 26 degrees possible by 5 o'clock, and then 28 degrees with a little bit of sunshine at 6 o'clock. But we are expecting more chances of snow as we head into your Thursday, especially in the early part of the day. It's going to be windy and cold, just a blustery day, and that's going to make those temperatures feel so much colder as well. So here's a look at your forecast. Temperatures around 30 degrees at 7 o'clock, and we are expecting a little bit warmer conditions by the afternoon with readings around 43, but we still have the possibility of a few flurries at 6 o'clock in the evening. We should start to dry out on Friday, and Saturday should be a little bit more quiet, and then as we head into the weekend, we have another storm system that will start to take shape in the southern plains, and it will migrate to the northeast. As it does so, it is going to spread a lot of moisture northward, and also the possibility of a few showers and then a few thunderstorms late in the day on Sunday before it moves away. So we do have more rain in the forecast, and I said rain instead of snow, so it is going to be a lot warmer. This is a look at our future radar. A few snow showers for tonight as well as tomorrow around 7 o'clock in the morning. It looks like there could be a few flurries just south of Cornell, and then a few more snow showers could be possible in the afternoon hours. Not the best chances of snow, but there could be an isolated snow shower here and there. But overall, I think everything will be tapering off by the afternoon hours, and then we do have the possibility of more rain as we head toward the end of the weekend. Here's a look at your forecast. Partly cloudy skies tonight. Temperature is dropping down to around 26 degrees in Corning as well as in Elmira, and then winds will really pick up tomorrow. Wind speeds between 15 to 20 with gusts up to around 25 to 30 miles per hour. We could have some snow in the morning and then maybe just a few showers by the afternoon. Temperature readings will be in the 40s in Corning and in Elmira. Cold though in Bath at 39 degrees, but a big warm up. About 17 degrees warmer on Friday with a high around 60, 64 degrees possible on Saturday out ahead of that storm system that will bring the rain back. Temperatures will be around 54 degrees in the afternoon. Then another warming trend. In fact, on Tuesday, highs will be around 67 degrees, and it gets warmer on Wednesday as we top out at around 74 degrees, and overnight lows will be in the 40s.
While the U.S. continues to wait word on the future of Johnson & Johnson's COVID-19 vaccine, vaccine eligibility has opened up to everyone 16 years and older around the country, and officials say they do have enough doses. Mandy Gaither has more in today's Health Minute.
1 out of every 4 Americans is now fully vaccinated, according to the latest numbers from the CDC. Still, COVID-19 cases are climbing. The U.S. now making $150 million available to community-based healthcare providers to help COVID-19 patient care and to get more shots in arms.
If you're 16 or over, it is your turn to get vaccinated, no matter where you live.
Officials say 9 out of 10 Americans now live within 5 miles of a vaccination site, with 28 million vaccines shipped to states last week.
So we are increasingly confident that while people may have some period of time where they need to wait, we do believe that there is adequate vaccine supply for everybody to get vaccinated.
While Johnson & Johnson's vaccine remains paused, another setback for the company. Emergent Biosolutions has paused any new manufacturing of the J&J coronavirus vaccines at a Baltimore plant at the request of FDA, but the company didn't say why. But Dr. Anthony Fauci predicts the one-dose shot will be back on the market.
I would imagine that what we will see is that it would come back, and it would come back in some sort of either warning or restriction.
CDC vaccine advisors are set to meet again Friday to discuss the future of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine in the U.S. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
A father in Michigan is outraged and wants answers after a teacher cut his daughter's hair. It happened after another student cut the girl's hair as well. Sherry Hardman reports.
Our kind of hair, you can't just wet down and cut it and that's when I feel like they should have, even if they were trying to do it in the kindness of their heart, once they've seen the outcome, they should have been like, yeah, we messed up. We should probably call him and let him know what just happened, you know?
Jimmy Hoffmeyer is waiting for an explanation as to how his daughter Journey was sent to school like this on a Wednesday and came home a few days later like this. He says that first haircut was by another student on the bus ride home.
I mean, I chucked it up because it was a child. You're not thinking of any serious consequences happening to a child.
Hoffmeyer says he took the 7-year-old whose hair had been down her back to a salon that same day.
To get it cut as an asymmetrical. So she had a little short here, but long still to about her shoulders on this side.
He then sent her off to school. The next time he saw her, she looked like this and was in tears. Journey told him this haircut wasn't at the hands of another student. This time, it was by her teacher.
After that teacher cut her hair, she was so embarrassed. So embarrassed that, she had to go back to class like that.
Hoffmeyer says he contacted the school multiple times to find out exactly what happened and why a teacher would cut his child's hair at school and without permission. But those questions have gone unanswered. He has gotten an apology, but says the school won't show him the video of what happened, either on the bus or in the school.
I would like them to own up to their responsibilities, and like we've been asking, is a public apology for the most part, to let Journey know that, yes, they acknowledge that it was wrong and that it should have never been done and that she should never have been through something like this.
Researchers got to see what daily life is like for a wolf through the animal's perspective. Jeannie Mose shows us some of the most interesting things that they got to see using a collar cam.
We know wolves don't sit around howling all day. But what do wolves do besides fend off black bears to protect their cubs? Now, thanks to the wolf collar cam, we get a wolf's eye view. Researchers at Voyageurs National Park in Minnesota fastened a collar cam on a lone wolf they'd trapped and sedated. And off he went.
The big highlight for us was watching the wolf catch fish.
Wolves have been caught on camera fishing, but watching one fish, from his perspective, catching several spawning suckers was a thrill for researchers. Another highlight?
Just watching a wolf chewing on a deer leg bone.
This wolf has a bone to pick. The Voyageurs Wolf Project tracked this young male for 6 weeks, watching crows up in the sky. The camera collar was made by a German company. that even makes them extra, extra, extra large for elephants. The wolf cam was programmed to fall off, detach on a specific date, and GPS enabled researchers to retrieve it. What's Tom Gable's favorite oddball tidbit about the secret lives of wolves?
Wolves in our area eat a lot of blueberries.
Not only do they eat them, they sometimes regurgitate them for their cubs to eat. Talk about recycling. The Wolfcam collar captured a lot of sleeping, and things were constantly hairy, whether dry or dripping wet.
The lens was covered in hair.
As one viewer noted, "I feel so close to this wolf. I like sushi, I run in the woods, and my beard needs a trim," which is what the researchers plan to do the next time they use a wolf collar cam.
Yeah, so what we'll probably do is trim back that hair.
Keep your paws off my coat. A haircut's enough to make a lone wolf howl. Jeannie Mo, CNN, New York.
Netflix got a huge boost in subscribers last year, thanks to the COVID pandemic keeping so many people at home. But now, with vaccinations ramping up, Netflix reported subscriber growth slowed a lot in the first quarter of 2021. The streaming service reported Tuesday it added only 4 million subscribers in the first quarter, and it now has 208 million subscribers globally. That's about 2 million short of the company's goal of 210 million. You might have to pay more for Pampers, Loves, Always, and Tampax products this fall. Procter & Gamble says it's raising prices on those items because raw materials are getting more expensive. The company says it will charge retailers like Walmart, Target, and Costco roughly 5 to 9% more. Stores can then decide whether to pass that on to customers. Kimberly-Clark also says it will increase some of its prices. A police officer outside of St. Louis is being honored for saving a woman from her burning home. She has a prosthetic leg and says she was separated from her husband and son, and a wall of fire blocked her path. But as Rianne Henson reports, that officer braved the flames to reach her.
Whenever I was arriving or pulling around the corner, I saw the house was fully involved.
January 26th, Officer Tim Shipp heard the call come in for a house fire on the 1800 block of Fox Creek Lane.
Is everybody out? Is everybody out?
He left his side job less than a mile away. He was the first person to arrive on scene. A neighbor told him a woman with disabilities was trapped inside.
I felt like I needed to act. I needed to try to at least get her out.
When he arrived, he called out once, twice, a third time. Finally, on the fourth attempt, he heard her voice.
I was able to follow her voice as she was calling out to me. I got on my hands and knees and crawled through, I believe it was 2 rooms. I wasn't really able to see anything about a foot in front of me. Really heavy, thick, dense smoke.
That woman says if Officer Shipp and that neighbor hadn't run into her now burned down house, she wouldn't be here today. Their bravery saved her life. Once outside, reality hit Officer Shipp. He was reacting on gut instinct since arriving at the scene. He's glad this story has a happy ending.
I don't feel like I did anything out of the ordinary that one of these other officers would have encountered in the same situation, but it does feel good to be recognized.
We want to leave you with a smile tonight. It's not always a dog-eat-dog world out there. Home cameras capturing the moment a terrier saved her puppy pal from drowning in a swimming pool in South Africa. The 7-year-old named Jessie pacing around the pool as 13-year-old pooch Chucky fought to stay afloat. Jessie repeatedly followed Chucky in an effort to try and grab him, which she eventually did after a 34-minute struggle. The two of them then scampered off happily. The homeowners who watched the video later say they are now installing a cover for the pool. Thanks so much for joining us. Have a great night.